Hello everyone. So today we're going to look at a couple of example paragraphs from a past coursework essay. This student here has written about conflict in two texts. They have chosen to write about the bright lights of Sarajevo and disabled. Now, before we start properly, obviously you know by now that if I show you an example like this, then the ideas in this are created by the student. If you steal them, and if they end up being written into your essay, then obviously you're going to be guilty of plagiarism. So please do not repeat anything that you see in these two paragraphs word for word. You are more than welcome to use it as inspiration, to take out some of their ideas and to make sure that you embed them into your own argument. But please do not just steal anything from these two paragraphs, because I'll be able to tell. So the purpose of this little video is to just show you what the key aspects are that I'm expecting to see in your first go at an analytical paragraph for this piece of coursework. So without further ado, let's have a read of this central paragraph on this page here. Readers can also see past and future conflicts in both texts. In the bright lights of Sarajevo, the past is dark and the future is bright. One of the first images the reader sees is the empty canisters of gas being carried in prams. The adjective shows how in need the Sarajevans are for essentials, and the inanimate noun phrase shows how utilitarian the situation and the people are. This also suggests that the conflict has altered people's priorities, as people are struggling with the bare essentials of getting heat and food. There is no new life, except only the struggle for survival. Another point shows that the present is also dark, with the repeated pattern of verbs from the semantic field of struggle and suffering about the misery of daily life. Harrison uses the verbs dodging, queuing and struggling to do this. In Sarajevo, there is no gas to light the lamps and no torches to guide them, meaning they are living their current lives in the dark. Here, Harrison's use of the requisite verb suggests that the Sarajevans have no clue where their lives are going due to the conflict. So, let's spend a few minutes looking at some of the things that this paragraph has that you need to try and bring in to your opening paragraphs as well. So what we have here is a nice topic sentence to start us off, which has been split up into two parts by this student, which is nicely done. It's very clear to us that we are looking at the question. This student was answering a question about conflict, and here we go. We're dealing with conflicts. And they nicely tell us what they're going to be talking about in the rest of their paragraph, about the darkness of this time period for these people. We also might want to point out the fact that the word conflict comes back there. So the paragraph opens and closes with a reference to the student's question. Very smart. They bring in the word conflict at other points in this paragraph as well. So they're always going back to the question, always talking about it. They also use what we might call synonyms for conflict. So it's not always conflict. Sometimes they're referencing the struggle for survival, which means the same kind of thing as conflict, doesn't it? So they're always doing the question. Important. They're not veering off it in any way, shape or form. I'm particularly impressed in quite a lot of this with the way that they use quotation. So I'm just going to go through and pick out those quotations that they use throughout this paragraph in green, like that. So we have here quite successfully fluent embedded quotation, which is something that you certainly need to aim for in your answer. Okay, so in green there, that fluent embedded quotation. Now you'll see that I have annotated this already with a pen and paper. This is because this piece of work was actually moderated for the exams that are unfortunately no longer taking place, but you can see that I have brought out the fact that they have referenced the text really, really well, and that they have argued a point really well on the left-hand side there. So, topic sentences. We've had also, let's just make this very clear. We've had frequent references to the question, frequent, fluent, embedded quotation. Now, what else do they do that is fairly successful? Let's look at the word adjective, inanimate noun phrase. So empty canisters of gas is what we call a noun phrase, because in it is a simple noun and it's done in a whole phrase. So the empty canisters of gas, an empty football stadium, a full bottle of Pepsi Max. Those are all noun phrases. This one is inanimate, according to the student, because, empty canisters of gas, they're not alive, are they? You might say they were a bit alive when they had gas in them, but they don't even have that. They're empty. So we get inanimate noun phrase, we get adjective. Later on, we get the phrase repeated pattern of verbs. We get the word verbs. We get the semantic field of struggle. Now, a semantic field, if you don't know already, is a set of words used by a writer, all in one little group somewhere, which mean the same thing and which try to communicate the same feeling. So the student here talks about the semantic field of struggle, and they are right that dodging and queuing and struggling are all words that appear next to each other in the text, and they're all words that seek to communicate that same feeling or emotion of struggle. Again, the student goes back to the word verb there in the final line of their paragraph. So, what's effective about this? Well, we are dealing with technical vocabulary frequently. So, those annotation videos and the annotations that we did in class and the recap videos that are also available on our YouTube channel, they make quite a lot of pulling out the technical vocabulary in these texts and talking about what it is that the poets and the writers are actually doing with language. Because this is English language coursework, quite a lot of your marks come from understanding that. Understanding how, for example, an adjective works, a noun phrase works, the repeated pattern of verbs, the semantic field. So you will get a lot of marks for that precise, accurate analysis of linguistic techniques. Okay. Notice also how this student is analysing all the time. The adjective shows. The inanimate noun phrase shows. It also suggests. Shows. Harrison uses the verbs to do this, meaning they are da-da-da-da-da. Harrison's use of suggests. So there's this analytical vocabulary being used all of the time as well. You'll notice that analytical vocabulary is almost always linked in with the technical vocabulary. The verb suggests, the noun phrase shows, the adjective shows. So that's happening all of the time. The other thing that is going to get this student marks, let's see, what colour have I not used for the highlighter yet? A horrible garish purple, there we go. The other thing that they have done, there is some lovely insight into this text. They are making their own points. They've read into the text. So look at those things that I've just highlighted in purple. The adjective shows how in need the Sarajevians are. It shows how utilitarian the situation the people are, i.e. utilitarian meaning that only the bare essentials are required. There's no new life except only the struggle for survival. That's a nice reference to the fact that it's prams that are carrying now gas. Rather than the new life of babies, the prams are carrying things that are essential for survival, the gas canisters. So in purple there, we have some really excellent insight. And it's clear that those are the student's own readings of the text. So that's very important. Let's have a quick look at the other paragraph then. So they do another paragraph about the bright lights of Sarajevo, and then they eventually get to disabled. And you can see here that they are still talking about this idea of darkness. The present and future in disabled are dark, which is shown when the poem begins with the soldier waiting for dark and shivered in his ghastly suit of grey, legless, sewn short at elbow. This paints a picture to the reader that there is life without light and hope, unlike the bright lights of Sarajevo, where there is a glimmer of hope for the future. Owen also tells us that the soldier will spend a few sick years in institutes and has lost his colour, which evidently shows the reader that his future is bleak and short. Before the war, girls would touch him, but now women's eyes passed from him. Now the young soldier will never feel again how slim girls' waists are. Here the specific adverb never infers the permanence of the effects of conflict. Due to conflict, the soldier has changed so much physically and mentally since the start of the war. For example, he now calls girls women instead. Again, Owen emphasises how the soldier has prematurely aged due to his experiences in conflict. In stanza 1, Owen writes, "Till gathering sleep had mothered them from him." Owen is trying to tell the readers that the soldier has lost his adulthood because he's become legless and needs to be mothered, inferring his need to be cared for the rest of his life as a result of the conflict. So, a paragraph really about darkness and essentially about change as well, and the present and the future. So let's see if we can pick out some of the same things that we picked out before. We used yellow to highlight those references to the question frequently. Let's see if we can do the same thing here. So we're dealing with darkness, which is their topic sentence. What we've got here, again, the paragraph ends with that key word, conflict. We get it here as well. And I have a feeling it comes up somewhere else. There it is, in the middle there. So again, we are dealing with the question all of the time. Excellent work. So what else do we pick out? We picked out in green there, their frequent embedded quotations. Let's see if we can do the same on this one. We've got quite a long quotation here. I'm not sure it works that well, but the student does nicely analyse it afterwards. It paints a picture to the reader about what's going on. We get a few sick years in institutes. We've got lost his colour. We've got touch him. Women's eyes passed from him. He will never feel how slim girls' waists are. We've then got the very smartly done taking out of a key word in a quotation. So they originally quote the word never to talk about what's going on with the soldier, but then they go into more detail about that particular word and how it works. But we're not done with the quotations yet. We've got girls and women and the student picking out that key idea there. Gathering sleep, legless and mothered. So even more frequent quotations in this one. Just look at it as a paragraph. And they're not just repeating the same quotation, are they? They're dealing with all sorts of different aspects of the text all the way through this paragraph. Excellent work. So, references to the question, key quotations, frequent and embedded. Let's pick out now what we picked out in blue. Those uses of terminology. So, you might argue that painting a picture is a nice piece of terminology, talking about imagery. We've got the specific adverb never. We have got, that's about it in that. Light on technical language perhaps, but still, as we'll see in the next point that we're going to highlight, there's still a lot of thought going into it. So we used red before to pick out that idea of analysis, didn't we? So painting a picture to the reader. Owen tells us. It evidently shows the reader. It infers the permanence. For example, Owen emphasises. Owen writes. Owen is trying to tell the readers, inferring his need. So we've got these lovely examples of analytical vocabulary going on throughout this paragraph, which means they're always telling us what they think about the text. They're always showing us their insights, aren't they? And that's what we did with the next paragraph, didn't we? We used purple to pick out the actual insight. There is life without light and hope. There is a glimmer of hope for the future. Nice reference back to the other text there. His future is bleak and short. That's something that the student has come up with themselves. This bit about it inferring the permanence of the effects of conflict. Really nice idea. The soldier has changed so much physically and mentally. The soldier has prematurely aged. The soldier has lost his adulthood. He needs to be cared for the rest of his life as a result of the conflict. So, even if they're perhaps not dealing with technical vocabulary as much as the previous paragraph, look at the insight. Look at the different ideas in purple that they're dealing with. It's not just one idea per paragraph. They're extending, they're developing all the way through. Okay, so those are the things that you need to pick out. In the Firefly task, there will be a list of those key things that I have put in red here for you, so that you can have a go at using them as well. All right, any questions? Get yourself on the forum, drop me an email, or simply reply to the Firefly task. Best of luck with writing your first analytical paragraph for this English language coursework.